Hi, I'm Maggie Marr. I'm the founder of Maggie Marr Legal. I'm also a USA Today bestselling author of over 20 books. So today I want to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart as a fellow traditional and indie author, a hybrid author, and that is the idea of portfolio diversification for intellectual property. So one of the things that I think is super important as a creative individual, there are tons of indie authors that are starting to have a very robust backlist. And when I talk about robust backlist, it's really any author that has 20 or more titles who is continuing to generate front list hand in hand with trying to take care of their backlist. So one of the things that I really think is important when you start to have that kind of business is that you start to think about your titles as intellectual property. And intellectual property, and if it helps your mind to think about it, this intellectual property, your backlist, you can think about it the way you would think about real property, such as, say, real estate. So each title is its own little piece of real estate, and you want each title to be generating as much revenue as possible, right? For you as the creator of that intellectual property. So when I speak about this live, I often talk about or use this sort of visual of you've got each title is a sponge and you want to squeeze as much revenue out of every single title as you possibly can. And in my mind, that is creating multiple revenue streams for every book. So what are the potential multiple revenue streams? A lot of independent authors already are aware of this, but I'm just going to run through a few of them. I'm sure I won't get all of them, but I want to run through them. So, say you publish a book in the English language, that's the first revenue stream. You publish it as an ebook, you publish it as a paperback, and you publish it as an audiobook. So those are three revenue streams right there that you're going to capitalize on. So that's the English language, the first version. You can put the English language up in multiple countries. So now you've got the English language version in multiple countries. You can use multiple distributors. So you can use Kobo, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any other distributor that Google, any other distributor that you can think of. Then the next thing is that you may want to drill down into translations. Translations are very big right now. So the idea that you would translate your book into multiple languages and then make that book available throughout the world in those different languages. I know that German is one of the most popular languages because it has such a robust revenue stream that can come out of the German language. Spanish, French, any language that you can think of. Of course, you have to decide as an individual independent author whether or not you want to take that on yourself or you want to find a project manager to help you with it, or if you want to find a distributor who is going to do the translations and then take a piece of that themselves. So, but this is a revenue stream, and each sort of foreign language is a revenue stream that each book can be creating and bringing to you. So translations is one of them. The next one is audiobook. You can do audiobook in multiple languages, obviously. So that's another one. These are all revenue generating pieces of the pie that then can bring money to you from each book. So let's see, we've done ebook, audio, translations, paperback. Another one is apps. Apps are very popular right now. There's a multitude of apps available, and it's most likely the wave of the future because I know that my kids are discovering books first or authors first on an app or on TikTok, and then they are going and buying the paperback because paperback right now with teenagers that I know is very hip. It's almost like a retro feel to be reading an actual paperback. But the author discovery is taking place in the digital space for them. And then they are transitioning into paperback because they enjoy the tactile sensation and also sort of that peer group that is reading actual paperbacks. So apps, there's a lot of them. Each one, the agreements for each app are a little bit different. I would encourage you that if you decide, here's the thing. So the other types of revenue streams that we spoke about before. We were talking about ebook, paperback, audio translations. Those are things that you as an author can do on your own, right? You don't necessarily have to enter into an agreement, aside from maybe with your translators, with regards to the intellectual property. So if you decide that you want to exploit the subsidiary rights for your intellectual property, your backlist or your front list with an app, then you're going to get an agreement, a contract, some sort of form that you're going to have to go through to put your intellectual property up on their app. I would encourage you to hire someone or to find someone who specializes in reviewing those agreements to review them. It doesn't have to be me, but let it be someone. I've seen, I think, the majority of the app agreements that are out there, and this isn't legal advice. This is me as a fellow author saying to you, I would encourage you to find somebody with legal knowledge to read through the agreement, because there are elements in every agreement that might be acceptable to some authors that are not acceptable to others. And when you're dealing with something that has to do with your subsidiary rights for your book, you want to make sure that you're not impacting those subsidiary rights in a way that makes it impossible for you to exploit other rights with regards to that book down the road, or that you're not giving away or licensing your rights for too long a period of time, right? Those are really important things for authors. Example, so say you do an app deal, you want to make sure that that app deal doesn't impinge upon the possibility of you being able to do a film and TV deal if a producer comes for the film and TV rights for your books down the road. Or say you do a deal with an audiobook company, or an audio distributor, but then later on you decide you want to be able to do your own audiobooks because you've decided that as a business person, the revenue generation of you doing your own audio is much more beneficial to you than, say, licensing your audio rights to someone else. You want to make sure that you can maneuver through the different subsidiary rights or ancillary rights that you have either licensed or capitalized on. Oh, this brings up another thing. I would encourage you, as you start to think of your books as pieces of intellectual property that you're going to squeeze as much revenue out of, to either you or an assistant or someone else that you work out to create a spreadsheet for every one of your books. And on that spreadsheet, every agreement that you do, or every sort of revenue stream that you create, put at the top of it what the revenue stream is and where you've either licensed it or where you're distributing it, so that and if you do, say, an agreement with another company as to the licensing of the subsidiary right, make sure you put down when that agreement starts, when that agreement ends. If you have to proactively reach out to them to terminate or get your rights back, you want to know what those dates are. So this is subsidiary rights management. And it's kind of the price of admission, right? Like, we all have things that we have to do. So if you want to capitalize on these revenue streams that are not necessarily revenue streams that you're creating, but that you're utilizing another entity to help you get the benefit of those revenue streams, then you also have to be doing some rights management on your end, which is keeping track of who have you licensed the rights to, and when do those rights become available to you again. So another component of that is when you sign an agreement, are you giving these rights or selling these rights or licensing these rights exclusively? Or is it a non-exclusive agreement? Because that can be really important, because you don't want to get into a situation where you believe that you can give your rights or license your rights to multiple apps, but one of those apps actually provided you with an exclusive agreement, because then you would be in breach of any of that agreement if it was exclusive, potentially, if you then enter into other agreements with regards to those same rights. So I guess what I'm saying is that you want to think about each book as having multiple revenue streams, the ability to have multiple revenue streams flow to you, the author, from that one book. And think about, if you have 50 books and they each can have 5, 10, 15 revenue streams for you, the author, that's great. That's great. Because what that does is that frees up that sort of overwhelming concern and worry that I think a lot of creatives have as to will they be able to pay their bills? Will they be able to take care of their family? And once those concerns are kind of lifted off your shoulders, I would advocate that you actually are able to create probably more freely. Right. And so I am a big proponent of authors finding as much and as many revenue streams as they can for every single title that they have in their backlist, in their front list. I would advocate, however, that if you don't feel comfortable looking at those agreements yourself, that it doesn't have to be me, but hire someone like me who understands all of those agreements and can go through them. And then the other thing that you might want to do is you might want to sit down with whoever it is that you hire to do that, to go through kind of the different rights that you have for every single book, where they are, where they've been licensed, when they become available again. And this is to make sure that you still can capitalize on all the deals that come forward. Because again, one of the things that I think is a big ticket item for my clients always is book to film and TV. So most of my clients really do want to find a home for their books in the film or TV space. So as we kind of go through the gauntlet, or we look for these multiple revenue streams for our clients, we're always looking at them with an eye towards, well, we want to make sure that if a producer comes for their material later on, that they have not encumbered any of their rights that the producer or the streamer or the studio would need to make this into a film or an episodic, I say TV, but anymore it's streaming. A lot of it is streaming episodic series. So that being said, I would say find someone who can explain to you not only the agreement itself, but how that agreement could potentially impact your subsidiary and ancillary rights down the road. And then get that spreadsheet as well, so that you know where the rights are, who the contact people are, and when the license expires, so that you always kind of have in your mind where the revenue is coming from and who the other party is. Again, thank you so much for watching. I guess this intellectual property diversification of your portfolio turned into a little bit of a book to film. So we'll call this part of our book to film Smart Author series as well. Down below, I have a link to my book to film book if you'd like to take a look at that. We also have a link to our newsletter, which we won't spam your inbox. Probably, maybe, I think we do them about once a month. And then also there's a link to it should be our Smart Author. We have a Smart Author checklist, and it's for authors so that they can kind of look at some of the things that they might need for their author business. So again, please reach out if I can ever be of help. hello@maggiemarrlegal.com. We always monitor that email address, and you're welcome to reach out. Again, thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. Oh, subscribe, please, if you would, and like it if you did. Thanks.